Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Pamela, and you are watching Pam Entertainment TV, where we review movies, television series, and incidents in pop culture just to see how those incidents affect our daily lives. Listen, really quick, we are about to go over, as you see it on the screen, Atlanta Season 4, Episode 4, entitled Light Skinned It. All right, we're going to read the synopsis real quick. Basically it says, my family is so crazy we need our own reality TV show. How you gonna still have beef from the 70s? Whew. And y'all need to stop trying to flirt with people's fathers. Child. So let's open up the episode. The episode opens up with Ern with his parents. They are at home and they're getting ready to go to church. Ern is going to church with his mom. His mom is piddling around trying to find whatever it is she's looking for. The dad comes out from the back and he says, I'll see y'all when y'all get back. Ern says, Dad ain't going to church. And he's like, no, he got somewhere to go. Ernst, we're going to talk about Ernst's father real quick. Ernst's father goes to the mall. He likes to go to the mall during church hours because there's not families and teenagers there, and he don't like to be accosted. He was going to the mall because he was finna get that new, I want to say he said a new iPhone or a new camera phone or some kind of new phone. He was trying to get that new phone, child. So he goes into the mall. He gets his shoes shined. He even goes throughout the mall and walking and talking and doing all kinds of stuff. So he in the mall. Meanwhile, we get with Ern, who's with his mom is driving, and his aunt, what is her name? Jeannie. I think her name is Aunt Jeannie. Aunt Jeannie gets in the car, and Aunt Jeannie has Ern's grandfather, and apparently she's taking care of Ern's grandfather. Now, before they got into the car, Ern's mother, Gloria, tells Ern that she is going to that she gonna pick up Jeannie. And Ern says, well, Mom, I thought you and Jeannie weren't talking. She says, no, we talking back because she's taking care of Daddy, and she don't like for anybody to go see him. And I want to see my dad. She says, I'm gonna kidnap my dad. He gonna come home with me. And so Ern is looking at her funny, like, huh? And so Aunt Jeannie gets into the car and they get ready to go to church. So what Ern's mother does is that she pulls up to the front of the church. And as soon as Ern and Aunt Jeannie get out, baby, she puts the pedal to the metal and gets up out of there. So Aunt Jeannie is like, what's going on? And Ern is like, damn, Mama was really serious that she was going to kidnap Granddaddy. So she takes off, and Ern and Aunt Jeannie go into the church. And so it's probably, because you see the praise dancers up there, so they've probably been in church a good 30, 35 minutes. And so Aunt Jeannie's like, where's your mom? What's going on? He says, I don't know. Maybe you should call her. She says, I called her and I've left Texas, but she is not answering the phone. So then Ern decides that he's going to go to the bathroom. He goes to the bathroom and he calls his father. Now, you remember his father's at the mall. And at this particular time, his father's getting his shoes shined. And while he's getting his shoes shined, Ern says, there's a situation here with the family, and I need you to help me deal with it. He's like, man, I've been dealing with this family for 30 years. He says, you're going to have to handle it. He says, because this is my 3 hours. This is my 3 hours of downtime, and I'm not fixing to handle nothing. So Ern, you know how that look Ern gets when he's like kind of frustrated, dumbfounded, and don't know what's going on. So he comes back out, he peeps into the church, and I think he thinks he sees his aunt in the church. So he's getting ready to sneak out. Aunt Jeannie catches him in the flow, child. She's like, y'all ain't fooling me. I know what y'all did. Y'all kidnapped my father. And he's like, I didn't kidnap anybody. He says, she took him. I know that she took him, and I know you was in on it. And he was like, Aunt Jeannie, I wasn't in on nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. So she told him, look, he says, I'm getting ready to go to the studio anyway, because Al is waiting for me. She said, well, I'm going to go with you. Baby. They take off to the studio, child. Al is in there playing cards. Was that Gunner, y'all? Was that the guy that just got arrested? Was that him playing cards with Al in the studio? Y'all let me know, because it looked like him, but it's not my generation. It just looked like him, but I wasn't really sure. But anyway, he's playing Uno, and the guy that he's playing with is, I'm gonna say it's Gunner. If it's not, y'all put it down in the comments who he was, or he was just a random actor. He tells him that Paperboy is cheating at Uno. He's like, how you gonna cheat at Uno? He's like, oh man, I don't have no yellow card. He's like, then you supposed to draw. He said, I'm not even gonna fool with you. Boy, he pulled out 2 reverses and a draw 4. Uno will get you shot. Uno will get you shot, especially if you're playing your own made up rules instead of what's on the package. Anyway, there's some rumbling outside, and Paper was like, "Y'all hear that? Y'all hear that?" So he pulls out his gun, and then he's looking out the window. He sees Ern and his aunt come in. He was like, "Oh crap!" She comes in. Everybody finna leave. Everybody getting ready to leave up out of here. And he's like, "Man, why you put me in the middle of this stuff about kidnapping such and such and such?" Boy, he kept going and talking, and Ern looked at Al like, "Fool." And so says, "See, I knew it." So then she said, "I knew it. I knew it was something. She kidnapped my father. She kidnapped my father." So then she calls out her brother and her sisters, honey. And they old because they doing the old three-way trick. She called her brother, tell her brother to put their sister on, and then she tells the sister, I think that sister was Al's mom. Then she tells the sister to put Ern's mom on the phone. And so she got to talking. She done kidnapped daddy. She know I was taking care of daddy, and she done messed around and she done kidnapped daddy. And I don't understand why she kidnapped daddy. And she need to bring daddy back and all this other stuff. And they like their uncle, who was played by Cat Williams, is like, she can't kidnap him. She she's not kid. That's her dad. If they And they go back and forth, and they're kind of laughing at Aunt Sherry, Aunt Janine, excuse me, Aunt Jeannie or Aunt Janine. They're kind of laughing at her. So you just, you acting up and stuff like that. And she says, "You know what it is? I know why y'all acting like this. You know what? Y'all ain't never liked me. You want to know why y'all ain't never liked me? Because I'm light skinned." And they were like, "Child, no, are you evil? You ain't light skinned." And then she gets to be hurtful. She says, "You know what? She got daddy. You know the only reason why she got daddy? Because out of all the daddy's children, he never could remember her. He ain't never really claimed her as his child. He could never remember her. And so that's why she did, out of all the children, he never remembered her name, her birthday, or nothing." And they were like, "You know what?" Ern's mom hung up. Now, meanwhile, Al and Ern are listening to this. And I mean, she ain't got no regard for her nephew talking about her nephew's mama like she is. And then in front of him like that, even though he is grown and even though he can possibly, take what she's saying, it's still something that you would talk like that. That's a conversation that you have between your sister and your brother, and you have it with each other, not with an audience. And I guess you figure because they're family, but they're in your eyes, they're still kids. You're gonna have that kind of hurtful conversation around the kids like that, and then you start implanting different things in their mind about something like that. And so just for further thing for grown folks, women, because I know a lot of us can do that. Y'all be very mindful about your mouth. Be very mindful about your mouths when you're around children. And the same thing goes around men. Be very mindful about your mouths when you're seeing about children, and also talking to them in a manner that will make them feel like they're less than, because we have to be very careful about that. Anyway, she has gotten up in her head that she's finna call the police, Aunt Jeannie, on her sister because she has kidnapped her father. She calls the police, and she tells the police what's happening, and the police says, "Well, we got to do well check." So he tells Ern to call his mom. Ern calls his mom. They put the grandfather on the phone. The grandfather says, "I'm with my daughter Gloria. I am fine." And everything was going, and he says, "And I'm in Egypt." And so he hung up the phone. Well, Gloria hung up the phone. And so Jeannie was like, "Yeah, he's in Egypt. See, he's in Egypt." And so the cops are not going to do anything because the man said he was fine. They don't have any way of knowing or not knowing that he was in Egypt. And they don't even have no way of knowing or not knowing if that was the father on the phone, if you want to know the truth about it. So let's get back to Ern's father. Ern's father, as he is trying to leave out of the mall, this white kiosk lady is selling hats. And she convinces his father that he needs this specific hat. And she flirts with him. She appeals to his ego and talking about he got a nice shaped head and he can wear hats, blah 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 blah. All said and done, he buys the hat, and apparently the hat is expensive. Boy, but he thinks he looked good, honey. He's walking through the mall, and then he realizes the mall is full. Church is out. The mall is full. So he's trying to hightail it out of the mall. Now, while he's trying to hightail in the mall, you have some young people that see him with the hat, and they want to then insist to clown him. And here is the thing: they're talking to him in a ha ha he he joking manner, but you can tell it's kind of serious, and they're making all of these overtures to make him take a picture with him. I wish he would have had enough, but because when you have that, and especially how volatile young people are, he wants to try to keep the situation as smooth as possible. But really and truly, he just should have. He didn't want them to follow him, to continue to follow him, because I'd have done one, two things. I'd have screamed, RAIPE. Listen, I ain't even spell it right. I'd have screamed, I'd have hollered, y'all get your hands out my damn pocket, or whatever it was. I would have screamed and put so much attention to make them look a little crazy about how they were acting, in that situation. But he ended up taking the picture, but he ended up feeling some kind of way because he was embarrassed, and he felt bad because he's an older man in his prime, and where young people usually have respect for the elders, they were just being real disrespectful. Now, mind you, the young boy that was on his knees, I think it was the same. Well, we'll get into it. So then he goes to the dinner. They're going to have dinner. Now, before they have dinner, we get back to Ern and Paperboy. They're still at the studio, and they're trying to get out of the studio so their aunt won't see them. And then we get into that surrealism. The receptionist says you can go out the door. Bobby Smurder used this exit and would go out of the door, and no one would see you. The only thing that you have to do is don't look back. If you look back, then it's not going to work. And sure enough, they walked out the door and they didn't look back. And their aunt was so busy on the phone, because if you look back, for some reason your eyes are more apt to then see somebody's eyes and then make eye contact. But if you're walking away, you don't really pay attention to what you're doing. And that's how she was. She was on the phone. She was giddy, and she was not paying attention to anything. And they were able to get away, and they were able to meet their parents. Ern's parents for dinner. They have dinner, they sit down, and apparently they have eaten all their food, and Ern's mother realized that they didn't get any bread. And you know how old folks are about making sure that they get what they paid for. So she asked the waiter to bring some bread. First, Ern's father said, "Give me the bill." So then she asked for the bread, and he was like, "Well, you want me to hold the bill?" She was like, "No, you can bring the bread and you can bring the bill." And he was like, "Well, I don't know if we can do that." She says, you didn't bring us the bread like you were supposed to. I want the bread. I can be able to pack it up. She said, "You can pack it up in a to-go box." He was like, "Well, I don't know if I can." You know how they all start when they don't want to do anything. Young people, this age of young people, when they don't want to do something, what they do is that they'll continue to talk and wear you down to where you say, "Never mind." Child. Ern's father said, "Bring the goddamn bread." And he said what he should have done at the mall. And that young man looked like the same man that was picking at him in the mall in the first place. That's what he looked like. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. He told him to bring the bread. And that's what he should have done, because one thing they don't like to be is they don't like to be embarrassed. You can't embarrass these young folks. They don't like to be embarrassed. They don't like for people to look at them funny. So then he did what she asked him to do, was to go bring the bread. And so Ern's father said, "These young folks are real disrespectful." And so no one knows why he was acting like that, or why he was so upset. But that had to do with everything with him being in the mall. So I didn't really pick up too much more any more than the surrealism of the Bobby Shmurda exit. And also what I talked about a little bit earlier about how young people can be disrespectful, and how you have to handle some young people being disrespectful, and also how family dynamics, how stuff can go on, and you can have all these family dynamics going on with those sisters and that brother, and particularly about their father, and Gloria having an issue because she wants to see her father, and Jeannie's not letting anybody see the father. And Jeannie and Gloria, instead of Jeannie and Gloria talking, They're just going back and forth and literally talking through the brother and the sister. So it makes it a whole big old issue when it really doesn't have to be an issue. And plus, this is also that kind of stuff that happens when you have fathers that have several children in or outside their marriage, and the dynamics between those children. He's still alive, but also those dynamics between those children after that father passes away. That's it for this. Tell me what y'all think. Please support this channel. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all so much for subscribing to my channel. I got one more video to give to y'all. That's the second episode of Reasonable Doubt. It's getting spicy over there. All right, people. And as always, bye-bye.